Hello and welcome to Diamonds and Duds. I am Ivan.
And I am Charles. Welcome back.
Today we are going to do, and I forget what episode this is. Probably should write that down. We'll worry about telling you that later. You probably already know because you clicked on it.
Yeah, it's the number it said on the screen.
Yes, the number that says it on the screen. We're going to be doing today Street Fighter.
Yep, so first of all, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, X, the TikTok, Blue Sky, all those paraphernalia things. So, Street Fighter came out in 1994. Last time we did Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and it was, well, dog vomit. So we thought, let's crank it back a few years to the beginning of the video game movie craze, which was kind of, well, one of the beginnings. There's another one that was before this. Kind of weird that it became a craze, because, every single one of these, except for Mortal Kombat, was a bomb, but whatever. Based on the popular video game, this adventure stars martial arts star Jean Claude Van Damme as a commando leading an elite team of street fighters against the forces of an evil general. Street Fighter.
This was directed by Steven Souza. Do you know who that is, Charles?
I do not.
You should. He, famous 80s director. He directed Die Hard.
Oh, okay.
He directed 48 Hours.
Oh, wow.
He directed Commando.
Ooh.
And he never recovered from Street Fighter.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
From a Rotten Tomatoes standpoint, this got 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah, about triple what Mortal Kombat got.
And also sounds about right to me.
Audience was about the same, 24%.
Yeah. So, couple things of note. I don't know if you heard this out of this action. So, the actor who played E. Honda in the movie, the center from Necessary Roughness. Also, if I remember correctly, you met.
Maybe
met.
When I was in Vegas, I was with my friends downtown, and I had a run on a craps table where I want to say I was rolling. Yeah. I don't know. You don't play craps a ton.
Yeah,
but I was probably rolling for a half hour to 45 minutes. And I rolled 3-3, I want to say 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
And he started putting 50s on 3-3. And I hit it 4 times when he started tipping me $100.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
But that guy literally this past week passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so condolences to his family. A couple other important things to note about this. Raul Julia, who played M. Bison, he played Gomez, the Adam Sandler movies. He was literally dying of cancer while filming this movie. He was not alive when the movie came out. He was literally in his final days of being alive as he was filming this. And he did this. He said that he did this. He knew what this was going to end up being in terms of he had no illusions.
Yeah.
But he did this movie so that his kids and grandkids could have a movie that they could watch him in, and it'd be appropriate because a lot of his movies were more adult themed. So I don't know if you know, but yeah, he literally was dying as he was making this movie.
Yes, because I know, because he passed away before it came out.
Yes, yeah, you never saw that. Another thing, and I think, frankly, for me, this is going to come up a bit. Now, this is not a rumor. This has been confirmed by the man himself. Van Damme, during this movie, had a 10,000 a week cocaine habit. Anytime you see him on screen in this movie, he is full body deep in cocaine. There was never a moment when he wasn't tons of lines in. Again, Van Damme himself has confirmed as look back yeah, I was just not there. Van Damme's confirmed all this.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Any other because this movie does have a few actors and actresses.
There are 2 actors I want to mention. The lady who played probably the person who had the best career post this, to be honest, is probably the lady who played Chun-Li.
Yep.
Ming-Na Wen. I'm probably mispronouncing that.
Agent May.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been a ton of stuff. That does a lot of voice acting work.
Yeah.
The other person who, as I was looking up, there's another you would think I'm going to mention Kylie Minogue. I'm not. The other person who has had a giant career post is the guy who played Ryu. Byron Mann. He has been in a ton of... He had a giant part in The Big Short.
Okay.
Was in Skyscraper. He was in Altered Carbon, the TV series. But, like, as you're looking at this, like, he has been acting in, like, steadily in major stuff since Street Fighter.
Yeah, he was in a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He was in 12 episodes of Arrow.
Nice.
You know, and so he's never been he was in the Expanse, which is an amazing show. And so, of all the actors that were in here, he probably is the only person who really turned this into it.
Yeah. So, and so we open the movie. M. Bison's this general, like, warlord who's taken a bunch in this, really kind of unnamed Southeastern Asian country, has taken over part of a country, and has a bunch of people captured. Basically wants $20 billion, and it opens with, like, Chung Lee's reporter, and some interaction between M. Bison and, like, I'm like, God, Van Damme sucks 2 sentences in.
Yeah.
I guess one thing I'll say about not Mortal Kombat Annihilation that we watched, but, like, the original Mortal Kombat, it lent itself, the story of the game lent itself to a movie very well, just because you could easily do a movie based off the tournament.
Yeah.
Street Fighter, one of the things that it struggles with here, I think, is that Street Fighter is kind of a tournament, but it's very much, the game's very more more loosey goosey in terms of there's a storyline to it, which in a game format, it's a fighting game. You don't really need it, and so they kind of came up with this, and so they, again, like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, there's fewer characters, but they kind of they were going to throw every single one that they've ever done, with one exception, into the movie. Some of them work, some of them feel shoehorned in.
Some of them feel shoehorned, especially when they're like the Balrog one.
The boxer?
The boxer, which I didn't think initially he was shoehorned in. He was just sort of part of Chung Lee's, like, with E Honda and stuff. But, like, later on in the movie, we're like, hey, here's his boxing gloves because he's Balrog.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's dumb.
I mean, and so, really, like, while talking to M. Bison, Jean Claude Van Damme plays Guile, and he literally calls out to one of the hostages that he knows, Charlie, are you okay? Charlie, are you okay? And Bison's, like, in the room with the hostages. He looks over, sees who Charlie is, and immediately decides, that's the guy I'm going to spend the movie
torturing the fucking shit out of.
Torturing the shit out of, and, doing experiments on. Like, that was fucking Guile's fault. Fuck you, Guile.
The other thing I said right at the beginning of this too was one of the first couple fight scenes. Bison just fucking executes the people he's fighting. Yeah. And I'm like, which is fine. He's a bad guy, except that Street Fighter doesn't have executions, and I'm like, good God, this is starting out really violent.
Yeah, like. What I honestly think they should have done, they tried to do this with the next Street Fighter movie. It failed miserably. The Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. It failed miserably because of, frankly, casting and stuff. But they should have told a smaller story with only some of the characters. Yeah. Gotten rid of about 80% of the characters and just limit the story. Told that, and they would have been more successful, I think. The only character, so they have every character in the base game, all players you can play as, and then if you haven't played, like from Street Fighter 2, the classic one, then you went through, once you beat all the people, you face Balrog, you face Vega, then Sagat, then M. Bison. Now, a few years after that, during the Street Fighter Mortal Kombat craze, Street Fighter came out with Street Fighter 2 Alpha. Mostly the same game, they added 4 new characters. They added Cammy, they added DJ, they added Thunderhawk, which is officially credited in the movie as T-Hawk, and they added a 4th one.
Is that the other? There was 2 people with Guile, and he's the other guy with Guile?
Yep.
Okay.
And they added Fei Long. I wondered, ever since I saw it in theaters, I wondered why Fei Long wasn't in this movie. He's not. Here's the reason why I found out when I was researching after watching it for this. Fei Long was an adaptation with the permission of the family of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee maintains all rights over when because he was based and supposed to be on. They will not let any depiction of Bruce Lee appear in anything that they think is going to be either funny, bad, or so bad it's funny. And so he was not allowed on it. He was not allowed in it at all. He's also been banned from most of the subsequent games. There is one character. He's an Asian character. It seems he's not at the level of the Thunderhawk and Cammy. He goes unnamed, but he has more dialogue than an extra. He's kind of stands out.
I know what you're talking about.
I think maybe that's
like
kind of
subtly they're like, hey,
subtly like maybe him. He doesn't reflect visually Fei Long, but like maybe okay, this is the closest we're getting to having him. But they have like Doslim's a doctor in this. Doslim's in the game is like the stretchy arm guy, Indian nationality. I'm like, okay, whatever. I gotta shoehorn in, but okay.
Yeah, at the very least, he was shoehorned in, but they didn't like throw it down. Or they were going to need a doctor character in that role anyway. So they're like, hey, you might as well have. And they didn't. The thing I thought was okay about that one is that like they didn't like throw that down our throats to, all this stuff. Like the part around his throat probably was the circle around his neck or whatever was probably part of it. I'm like, oh, because to be honest, I didn't realize that was him until after the fact.
Yeah. So. They start, basically, they're going to start experimenting and turning Charlie, thank you, Guile, into, like, the ultimate soldier. And I was like, there's a big bag, so there's a bunch of bags. I don't know if you caught this. And this is one of those levels, like, Jesus fucking Christ. And there's, like, this orange and green.
Yeah.
The big bag, and it says DNA mutagens on it. Just like, big bag, like, that's what, like, they're pumping into by the end of the movie Blanca. I'm like, for fuck's sake, do we have to get that lady? DNA mutagens. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, and comparing this to the last one of these we saw, I at least appreciate the fact that they thought of this. And they didn't just... Because if this was the Mortal Kombat director, like, he just magically would have been Blanca.
Yeah.
And
so... we're introduced to Ken and Ryu.
Yep.
Again, these two characters really annoyed me. And it's not so much, I would say there isn't one good performance, with one exception in this movie. In some cases, often cases, I do not blame the actor. You're just doing what you can with dialogue, especially if you're not a big actor. There's really only one person I blame for their performance, and that'd be Van Damme. Most of the younger unknown people, I don't blame at all.
Yeah, you're taking direction. Yeah. You can only do so much.
And there's one person in this movie we'll get to, I believe, deserves a crown for their performance in this movie. But like, man, Ken and Ryan be goddamn drug runners. Like. Yes, like they're selling fake guns, but like they're con artists and drug runners, which is not that's like the opposite of them. And like there's Ryu especially is supposed to be like an honorable ninja. And Ken's kind of more like brash, but he's still,
Yeah, and that also goes to the fact that I think they were told like you have to have Ken and Ryu in it. They needed to have some way to get to Sagat, but like. Is there any reason why they couldn't have just been undercover FBI guys?
Yeah,
undercover,
or going after Sagat for their own reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, that's just one or two lines of dialogue but they almost make a point of having dialogue in there to reinforce the fact that they're scummy pieces of shit.
Yeah, and so, like, in the, Sagat's tied to Vega. Vega in the games, he's got, like, a little claw guy. He's a really, really vain guy. He's got the mask. He sometimes takes off, whatever. But, like, and they tease it because, like, Ken and Ryu selling fake, yeah, sure. To a cartel, cartel or whatever they are, sell fake, like, toy guns. That's really smart. But, like, Ryu, and we have a running theme in the movie. One of the reasons that really, really hurt my liking in this movie. Okay, I didn't like Mortal Kombat Annihilation because there's so much wrong. But at least they gave us the tea before the last 20 minutes. And we get, throughout this entire movie, we get teases of the fights. We don't get anything. And even in the finale, I will say we really don't get much.
No, it seems like they had so much, like they were so worried about random shit that they didn't do anything with fight scenes.
Yeah, like they tease Ryu and Vega, but they don't even lock, do any combat. Then like Guile comes in and arrests everybody. Isn't Guile supposed to be focusing on fucking Bison?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, Sagat must be like. He must be Bison's right-hand man in this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They just needed to have Sagat and Vega show up.
Yeah. Later on, they have like a deal that they're gonna do, but and then like this shows them in prison. Vega, I will say, this is stupid, but this was a stupid in a funny way. Vega makes a shank, and it's a claw shank. It's idiotic, but then I'm like, okay, that's fucking funny. Like, it makes no sense, but like I can get behind that in the so bad it's funny. Like, yeah, sure. Guards aren't gonna notice I'm making this big huge claw shank. And then I wrote this down, but now I kind of forget. At one point, like here, like there's like random like chef attack, like with a guy like White or something like that. I think. Oh no, it was during the meeting. Like Guile is talking about the with his generals or and they're kind of coming up with a plan like, oh, we don't know where it is, and then he like looks and he thinks, oh, okay, maybe I use these guys he's gonna use Ken and Ryu to try to get them to plant a bug. But while he's having this meeting, all of a sudden this guy in a chef's outfit tries to attack and kill Guile, like in this like war room meeting. And I'm like, Guile just hits one hit, takes him down, and that's it. Doesn't say anything else about it. And I'm like, that was fucking random.
Yeah, that wasn't in my version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have remembered that.
Yeah, it was very, very quick.
It's possible I just didn't.
Yeah, so it was very, very quick, right in there, and then so Ken and Ryu are gonna play nice with Saga and try to get taken to Bison's base,
Yeah, and so as they're escaping, they do this really weird thing where they have Ken shoot Guile for some reason, and
so Guile fakes his death, and the plot is saying like, hey, we did that so that they can get in, and so that they get, but they had facilitated Saga's escape,
which would have been enough
to ingratiate them.
Already.
Yeah, so they don't really do with anything with Guile faking his death.
And also, I wrote down they probably should have thought of a better way to do, thinking if this was real, okay? They just let an entire, jail full of people escape. Some of these people probably went on to murder people.
Yep.
And so it was like...
Not really well thought out. Then we get to Bison, talking about, in his country, the food court. Talking about the food court needs to be bigger because all the fast food restaurants are going to want to go there. And here's where I'm going to talk about the MVP of this movie. And that is Raul Julia. Okay? Raul Julia, he knew the assignment from day one.
Yes.
He knew this was up.
He knew he wasn't going to be nominated for an Oscar for this.
Yeah. And so he knew that he needed to play up his role and overact to the 10,000th degree and play. He knew that the goal should be for you to be laughing at M. Bison every time that he's talking, because he's like, the only way people are going to finish this movie is if I'm entertained and that I'm making this so bad it's good. And he is he is fantastic as in this movie.
The other thing is I wrote down here, because right around this time, or maybe it was just before this, I'm not sure that Guile's group is the good guys. Okay. Not only because of the whole prison break thing, but on more than one occasion, at least two, and I think more than two occasions, on the, over the PA system, they talk about a curfew. Okay? And they said, there's a 7 p.m. curfew. And they make a point multiple times of saying violators will be shot.
Oh, Jesus, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. On multiple occasions, they talk about this 7 p.m. curfew and that violators will be shot on sight.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, well, that shit's... I wrote that
That's
down.
dark.
I wrote that down twice. That shit is... I'm like, but Bison's group doesn't control the curfew. That would be the government.
Yeah.
Whoa, what's going... Or maybe Bison's group does, but like they're not explaining it well.
Yeah, and so during this scene with Bison, he also has a long speech. I don't remember what, but it's funny. But I love how he has the name for like his country relative, Bisonopolis.
I thought that was really.
I thought that was good. Zangief says, and I'll say this: every single time Zangief speaks in this movie, I write on here, "Fuck you, Zangief." Now, the actor there, we've seen the actor a few times. We've mostly seen that actor in football movies. He was in the program. Was he the Roid Boy?
Yeah.
In the program, I've seen it. I've seen it. I know you haven't read it. You haven't in a long time. The show, one season show, Playmakers.
Oh yeah.
He's not a full cast member, but he's one of the people in that. So normally we see him as like a defensive player in football movies. But he's also in Any Given Sunday. But yeah, he plays Zangief, and like every single time he says words, "Fuck you, Zangief," they're like trying to make him like really stupid, but he just comes off and just inane.
The other thing right around this time too is this about the time when Chung-Li sees she had thrown a tracker on there because she wanted to track down Bison, and she noticed that there were 2 trackers on there.
Yeah,
and she noticed that one of the trackers was from the military base.
Yeah.
And so for some reason, they decided to have Chung-Li track down that tracker.
Yeah.
Which, it needs to get her in with the military.
She's secretly not just a reporter.
Yeah, she's secretly way more powerful, which I think if this movie was filmed nowadays, she probably would have been the main character, not Guile, probably. Yeah. But the thing I thought was really confusing is they make a point of when Ken shoots Guile is that he's lying there for a sec. But wouldn't his soldiers have known that he didn't really get shot? Yeah. But also, it's obviously hours and hours later.
Oh, yeah.
And then Guile is still just laying on, he's just laying on a table underneath the blanket.
Yeah. I'm like, has Guile just been laying there all this time? I'm like, Jesus. And then on the way in was also, like, they're sneaking in, and Chun-Li's like, tell me when it's clear, Honda. Honda's like, it's clear. And she starts to come up and out of the van, and there's soldiers everywhere looking, like, in the direction. She has to, like, be careful. Like, how is that clear, Honda? I mean, but, like, yeah. I'm like, 30 minutes in, and again, we've only gotten teases of character fights. And one thing, and also, I don't even, like, most of the fighting in this movie, really all the fighting, I would say, is terrible. Because anytime there's a fighting, I don't know if you notice, but the character, like, say, Cammy, whatever, the character that they're focusing on, they're really, really close up to the camera. The person is either just off left, just off right, and their kick or punch is going off screen. So it's like, really, it's the worst fighting. And I remember reading a while back, that's just the choreography was shit. None of them knew how to do anything. But like, this may be Van Damme's worst performance.
And that's saying something.
That is saying something. Meanwhile, Ken and Ryu apparently infiltrated Bison's camp, like, really, really fast. They're like, actually was Bison, despite the fact that he's waiting this certain amount of hours, I think 3 days, to get this money, and like he's keeping secret where he's at, he leaves his compound to go make this deal with Sagat. And like, they have entertainment from sumo wrestlers and boxers. Oh, and then like, no, sorry, but they have the entertainment, but also this is when E Honda and Balrog talk about their grudges against Bison, whereas like Bison, caused, E Honda his sumo career because like all those allegations, whatever, and Balrog's like, yeah, say with me. Why would Bison care about the careers of that?
And that was all. That's something that's thrown in there for like you don't need to have a reason why E Honda. Like you just need to have the fact that E Honda is with Chun Li. Like they're friends and he's there to protect, like help her. That's all you need. You don't need to shoehorn this other shit.
Yeah, and so like. They're at the this deal is gonna go down and until like Sagat's pissed off because Bison's like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you all this money, but it's Bison money, which what pisses off. But like so, Chun Li's plan is she has an explosive there. She's gonna blow up Bison and Sagat. One fell swoop there. They know nothing. Bison and Sagat haven't expected anything. They haven't won. We got to end it. We got a movie ender in 40 and 45 minutes in. Ken and Ryu, they know the bomb's like, wait, oh no, Chun-Li and them, they're going to blow up and kill Bison. No, we need Bison to take us to his compound so that Guile can go there and attack and kill Bison. We can't let Chun-Li Bison because we need Guile to kill Bison until they sell him down the river. Again, those two, they're so terribly written. Just let it happen, walk out, boom, movie's over.
But also, and I like to think that Raul Julia had a part in this part because did you catch what Bison's big thing for his next step was? Okay, behind the Bison money. Oh. Okay.
He was going to kidnap the Queen of England.
He was going to kidnap the Queen of England and then ransom her back to change the exchange rate on Bison
I
dollars.
Love that. Again, this movie's bad. It is worth watching for Bison alone.
There's a handful of characters that are 100% like. I think Chun-Li's worth watching for. I think Bison is 1,000% worth watching for, and maybe a couple of the stuff later, maybe. But they shoehorn a lot of characters in here for no goddamn reason.
Yeah. And so so they all get taken. Honda and Balrog are captured.
Was the guy who tortured them? Why wasn't that Zangief?
Yeah. That would have been.
I just sort of assumed the guy because they made a point of showing the guy who tortures them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that must be somebody.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and also so now they attire Ken and Ryu, and so one thing you're also noticing throughout the movie is they're making a point of getting all the characters, even if it's asinine and stupid, into their game costumes. Like now, Ken and Ryu are into their game costumes.
I had a problem with one of those. Yeah. Because they were making a point of having everybody get into the game costumes. Why was Chun-Li's red?
This is an I know.
Is that an alternate costume?
Yeah, but it usually should have been blue. It's normally blue.
I'm like, I wrote down that having everybody get into their game costumes is kind of cheesy, but if you're going down that path, why is it Chun-Li's just blue?
Yeah, and they got some of those wrong. Like Guile's, his tank top was the wrong color.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be green. Something like that they just totally got wrong. I'm like, we're halfway through the movie and we don't know why it's personal for Guile. Because he said at the very beginning, even before, he's like, first of all, he doesn't know what the fuck they're doing to Charlie right now. But he's like, Charlie, stay alive. He said even before this, it's always been personal. But we never see, even the other half, we never find out why. So where everyone else is being tortured and, Chun-Li is sent to, Bison's going to try to seduce her. And you get one of the most legendary lines in B-movie history.
I think we wrote down you go ahead with it.
So basically, Chun-Li goes through and tells the entire story of what happened to her dad, why she hates him.
It was well delivered. For a movie like this, it was well delivered.
Yeah, it was well delivered. He invaded, Dad, Dad's land and all that stuff. It was very well done. And then Bison's like, I don't remember. And she's like, "What? You don't remember when you?" I was like, "No, you don't understand. The day that you were fortunate enough to have that Bison graced you with this presence
was the most important day in your life.
For me, it was Tuesday, and that for me it was Tuesday. This has actually lived on.
Oh yeah, yes,
and it's very
not just for but if people who are listening to this."
Yeah.
If you hear that line, you probably have heard that in other stuff before, and it's from this.
Yeah, it's such a great fuck you line. It really is. It's such a great line. And so they're withholding all combat between characters until the end of a bad movie. And again,
and if they're building towards it and they have a really good giant fight scene at the end, that would have been cool. But
they don't. So they talk about. Let's talk about Giles. Good or evil company. Their plan, as far as they now have their plan. They're going to send all these boats to distract Bison, the main frontal attack. Right. Meanwhile, they're going to have another boat. The stealth boat, led by Guile and her other two named characters, Cammy and T-Hawk. They're going to be the ones in the stealth boat. No one's going to see them coming. That's their plan. And so, and meanwhile, we've seen Dawson occasionally. He's trying to do, they've been showering Blanca with fighting images. He kind of switches over to nice to try to balance it out some. And so, the whole stealth aspect. First of all, the stealth boat's going in first for whatever reason, and they just fucking abandon stealth right away. They start blowing up radar things, shooting.
Again, I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. This goes back to having a guy to say something. This shit's stupid. This shit doesn't make sense. They needed to have that guy or girl on, because it would have been, hey, director, don't have him shoot. Wasn't this a stealth boat?
Yeah. And so the funny thing is they go back and hey, some of our things are going offline. Our radar, they take us to let me see a camera of the location. And I'm thinking wouldn't the camera detect the fires that should be there from blowing up the radar thing?
Also, is the camera just in the water in front of the boat?
Yeah, I know. I'm this is the least stealth approach ever. I'm weren't the other boats supposed to distract or something? They're supposed to have.
They just the director and the screen. They just sort of forgot about the other boats until it's oh hey, they all showed up.
Yeah, and so we've now gotten a look at kind of what Blanca's going to look like, and so because that's where. And now that they get there, the boats get there, and Van Damme's going in alone, and he's tells Cammy and Tia, no, you go over there and wait for the other boats to come, and so okay, Giles just going in alone. Oh, fine, whatever, it's dumbest fucking plan ever. I hope Bison. Of course he's going in alone. It makes zero sense. I hope Bison wins. And he arrives from the water basically in Blanca's area. We see Blanca. He looks horrible. Very shitty done. They should not have put Blanca in a Street Fighter movie. If you want to make this good Street Fighter movie, you keep Bison. Maybe you have a couple of the lackeys. You keep Chun-Li, Honda. Probably substitute somebody for Balrog.
You probably have to have.
But you keep that.
You have to have Ryu. It's Street Fighter. You have to have Ryu in there in some format.
Yeah.
And then you just have a Guile character come in the end, being part of the military that helps rescue him at the end.
Yeah, tease the second one.
Yeah.
But so, So now, Guile sees Blanca, sees it as Charlie. Blanca gives up. Doesn't fight. There's no fight. And Giles oh, no. Blanca's I don't want to, hurt you. And Guile immediately takes out his gun and is about to fucking execute Blanca.
I was oh, good God.
I was Jesus, what the fuck, Guile?
This also goes back to I wasn't 100% sure that Giles' character was the good guys.
Yeah. It's I'm Jesus, you go straight to an execution? And so, and that's it for Blanca, basically, for the movie. He doesn't execute him. Dawson's he's can maybe, learn good or evil. Yeah. And basically, that's it. Those characters basically fuck off. We start to get some of the fighting, but, and I put Blanca in the end up being very useless. They don't use him to fight. They don't show him fighting bad guys or anything
No, it's just sort of, hey, it's Street Fighter. We're expected to have Blanca, so... Yep.
I've seen better fight scenes on Sesame Street.
There was a Chun-Li Bison almost fight scene.
Oh, yeah, almost. You're
I was actually, I'm oh. And then Bison gets in his safe room and gasses everybody. Basically, because a bunch of Ken and Ryu and Honda and Balrog come to quote unquote save him. But I think Chun-Li would have fucking killed him.
Yeah.
If they hadn't come. Like Chun-Li's had a couple times where she should have killed.
Yes.
But they decided this is the 90s. You're a female. You're not allowed to do this.
Yep.
Is basically what I took from it.
It took 75 minutes for any character on character fighting. And that's when we get E Honda versus Zangief, which is literally just slow motion and them hugging each other and moving around. There's no, because it could have been a fight scene if you just did a big old brawl fight, but there's never any punches. They're like hugging each other in bear hugs and moving around the compound. And that's, other than Guile and Bison, that's really it. Because we never get the payoff on the Vega, because that's just the Vega Ryu versus, and then Saga Ken. Those fight scenes are short. Those should have been longer, especially Vega versus Ryu. But those are both really, really short.
Well, especially since most of these people were unknown actors, they should have just cast people in this like you would in a normal martial arts movie. You know what I mean? You should have cast them that way, and then you could have.
Yeah, and so first of all, way too much gunplay for a movie called Street Fighter. I mean, way too much.
Way too much like executions.
Yeah, seriously, right?
Yeah.
Then you get Bison's on like a little catwalk or whatever, and you get Guile on the catwalk, and then you go all there's dozens and dozens of the good guys with their guns trained on Bison, and Guile's like, no, you guys go. I'm gonna fight Bison 1-on-1. I'm like, no, this guy's a warlord. Shoot Bison. Somebody or.
Arrest him.
Yeah. Somebody violate orders and not just.
I also around this time, isn't it around this time when Bison has the Blanca thing come up?
Yeah, that's when
and the part I wrote down is that I just realized that during the course of this entire movie, Bison's never checked on Blanca.
Nope.
He just sort of sends him down there in the beginning, and this is the first time he's ever.
He just assumed that everything went well.
He just assumes everything goes well and just.
Yeah, and so fighting at this point, you mentioned earlier, Balrog has got his gloves. I'm like, of course Balrog is wearing gloves, for fuck's sake, and then so Bison and the Guile fight happens in two parts. This is overall at least the first half, especially, is a disappointing fight scene because you expect more from Guile versus Bison. The big good guy versus bad. I just did air quotes versus bad guy. But again, you got to remember, Raul Julia was dying. Okay, Raul Julia. Now you can see they use stunt double and whatnot, and stunt double and whatnot. But again, for what shots that you can see, so Raul Julia probably wasn't going to be very, very convincing. Throwing a punch. They do it makes no goddamn sense. But all of a sudden, after being thrown into a TV or something like that, Bison gets a lot power. Or he has powers all along. He just chose never to show them. But he can shoot electricity, he can levitate, and I got the impression when he talked about levitating that this isn't new that he can do. He just said, "Hey, he's gonna wait."
Fuck it. I just want to.
Yeah, I want to win. So hey, so he has powers, but he dies anyway.
Yeah. And that.
Yeah, I guess, and then we kind of get the rabbit for whatever reason.
For whatever reason, the one thing, I thought the DJ and Sagat getting away was kind of funny, and the fact that it ended up being the Bison dollars, I thought was rather hilarious.
I like that.
I thought it was really weird that Zangief got away scot free.
Oh, again, that's why. Fuck you, Zangief, because I remember that. Wait, I was a bad guy? Oh well. God,
and it was hey, we probably want to have Zangief in the next one if this is a hit, is basically what I think.
Yeah, and I also didn't understand why Dolls Limit and Blanca are just like, you know what, we're good, we're gonna die, we're good. We decided, we're just gonna fully commit to wasting theater goers' times with our inclusion, and we're just gonna die here. Especially because they show at one point the green bag leaks of DNA mutagen, and it leaks onto Dhalsim's arms. I don't know if you caught that.
Which is why he... Okay.
Yeah, so... but then they decide to stay and get blown up, and then we get big old jump, everybody happy, yeah, everybody midair, just fuck you freeze photo finish.
Yeah,
yeah. So what was this for you, Diamond or Dud?
Why don't you explain the...
So Diamonds or Dud. So Diamond it's generally a good movie. Okay, it can be it's 1 to 5. 5 is this is best movie, one of the greatest movies of the year. Great. 1 is good, but you're probably not gonna necessarily review it. Dud it's a bad movie. However, from 1 to the scale is 1. The lower it is, 1 is okay. If I ever have to watch this movie again, I'm clawing my eyes out. Whereas 5 is we're talking so bad it's good. Rewatchability just for the badness.
Yeah, and for me, it falls onto the Dud side of the aisle. I put Mortal Kombat Annihilation at a 1 Dud. I think this was as far as duds would be 1. If I were told I needed to watch one of the 2 again, it would be Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And so I have this as a dud too.
I have it it's during the course of this podcast, it's grown a little bit on me. I had it as a 2. I'm more as a dud. I have it more as maybe a 2.5.
Yeah.
Just because it is a bad movie, but it's worth it. And there's a lot of crap things about it. But it is. I just love watching Raul Julia's.
Raul Julia, it's worth watching it for him. Again, at this point, the show's been off the air, I can't even believe 10 years. But if you're a fan of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's cool seeing where she kind of, for the most part, started.
Yeah.
And so there's some good characters in here that are worth watching.
Yeah.
But
So, funny thing, I was researching. Apparently, in the aftermath of this movie, Jean Claude Van Damme tried to get a sequel going.
I've heard this.
He got some of the actors, because again,
most of them are like, hey, sure.
Yeah. But the studios hard fucking pass. They probably were thinking we don't want to fund your cocaine habit again.
Well, bluntly, the studio's probably we wouldn't mind doing another Street Fighter movie, but we don't want you.
Yeah, and so they did Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, which by all accounts, I've seen it. It makes this look like fucking Casablanca. Because
is it the same Chun-Li?
No.
Okay,
there's no connection.
Okay,
there's a couple of good. There's Neil McDonough, from Band of Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
He plays Bison. There is a Balrog who's I think is a henchman. Chun-Li's the only other character from Street Fighter,
and that's the way you I think the way you do this movie is we kind of touched on this a little bit as we were talking. I think the way you do this right is that you have it surround Chun-Li. You have E-Honda. I like the E-Honda thing because it adds a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
You have another character or 2 with it. And you have some reason they're going after Bison. Yeah. You have a couple henchmen with, obviously Zangief will be one of the henchmen with Bison. And you pick a couple other. The Street Fighter, it's other than Bison. Yeah. It's hey, some people could be good. You pick a few that way, and then you have Ryu there somewhere, and you have Guile come in at the end. I think is the way you do this right.
Yeah.
But
and a couple of reasons why Legend of Chun-Li is just even worse than this movie. One, the boy love interest was Chris Klein, who can't act his way out of a paper bag.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the actress who played Chun-Li. I liked the show that she was on. Some people who like this show feel differently. There's a lot of people that liked her. I feel that she was one of the worst. I'm sure she's a nice person. That she was one of the worst actresses for a long time on a show that we've ever seen. And it's Kristen Kruk who played Lana Lang on Smallville.
Oh, God.
Yeah, she played Chun-Li, and I'm no offense to her personally, I don't think we've ever seen a TV show that ran a long time that ever had a worse actress, because she was pathetic to me as Lana Lang. I hated every scene she was ever in.
I don't want to sound insensitive, but she's not Asian.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because nowadays that would have been a big problem.
I'm not 100% sure.
We could be wrong on that. Let's not.
But yeah, regardless, the movie sucks. It's terrible. She can't ever get out of the paper bag. And the movie's just really bad. Boring.
So, what we're thinking for next time, movie wise, we're gonna go in a different direction.
I agree. You know what? I think we need to get away.
Let's get away from the video game stuff. Let's cleanse the palate a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Event Horizon.
Yep. I've never seen that one. It is a cult classic. Came out in my youth. I think when I was a teenager or something like that. Sam Neill and I think Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so space.
I've seen it long ago, but it's one of those ones that I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, so tune in next time as we take on space we go back into space with Event Horizon.
And thank you, everybody. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, X, all the
things,
fun spots, and comment. And also on some of those places, as you're listening to these, comment on us. You can comment on the the Spotify pages. Also, send us notes on Facebook and stuff if you have any ideas or movies you want us to do.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. Cool. Have a good one.
See you later.